Also, when looking for shoes, you want to pay attention to a few key measurements. The most important thing is length of a shoe. When you put your foot in a shoe, you want a little bit of space in front. We usually want a thumb width of space. This is so that the further you get into your run or walk, and as your foot fatigue plays out, there's a safety buffer to make sure that you're not bumping up against the front of the shoe. You also want to make sure there's plenty of width. You want your toes to be able to splay out. That natural splay is very important for your foot doing the job of absorbing shock. A shoe can only do so much, and your foot is designed to help absorb that shock. So you want to feel secure back in the heel and midfoot where you're being held in place, but have plenty of room for the foot to splay out. Conversely, you don't want too much room. If you feel like you're slipping back and forth in the shoe, your toes are going to want to try to grip for security, and then everything tightens up in your arch and Achilles, and that's no good as well. So you want enough room to feel free, but not enough that you're swimming around in the shoe. So length is important, width is important, and then we start to come into some of the personal preferences. Do you want a lot of cushion or do you want a little cushion? How high of a stack is that measurement? So how high off the ground does the shoe sit? Traditional shoes have 24 millimeters of foam in the heel, around 12 in the forefoot, but there's other options these days. Brands like Hoka do more than that. You sit up a little higher off the ground. There's other brands like Topo and Ultra where you're a little lower to the ground. And so there's a lot of different options. If you want to feel more of your run, get a little bit closer, have a little more flexibility in the shoe, you can go with something with a lower stack height. If you want lots of cushion and a big, nice plush feel, you can get more cushion with your shoes these days and have that nice soft ride. The other measurement we're interested in is drop. Drop refers to the difference in forefoot versus the heel. Traditional drop has 12 millimeters, or a 12 millimeter difference between heel and toe, but there's a variety of options these days. Some of our traditional brands will do a few different drops. There's a 6 millimeter option from New Balance here. Saucony and Brooks both have 4 millimeter options. So if you want to get a little bit flatter, you can do so. There's also zero drop options, or completely flat shoes where your heel sits at the same height as your forefoot. Why would you want that? Lower drop options make it feel a little more natural to land in your midfoot. Landing in the midfoot puts the arch at a more advantageous position to absorb that shock. When the heel and forefoot land simultaneously, it can now sort of collapse and act like a spring and give a break on the up the chain. But any lower drop options have a con. The difficulty of a lower drop option is a lot of us aren't used to wearing something with zero or minimal drop. It does stretch the Achilles and calf a little bit more, so you do have to be willing to work on calf strengthening and calf flexibility if you want to go towards one of those options. But with any shoe, you have a lot of different choices. So if you want to go that way, you can go that way. If you want to move to something a little more traditional, you can move to something a little more traditional.